David William Donald Cameron is a British politician who has served as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom since 2010, as leader of the Conservative Party since 2005 and as the Member of Parliament for Witney since 2001. Cameron studied philosophy, politics and economics at Brasenose College, Oxford. He then joined the Conservative Research Department and became Special Advisor, first to Norman Lamont and then to Michael Howard. He was Director of Corporate Affairs at Carlton Communications for 7 years. Cameron first stood for Parliament in Stafford in 1997. He ran on a Eurosceptic platform, breaking with his party's then policy by opposing British membership of the single European currency, and was defeated by a swing close to the national average. He was first elected to Parliament in the 2001 general election for the Oxfordshire constituency of Witney. He was promoted to the opposition front bench 2 years later and rose rapidly to become head of policy coordination during the 2005 general election campaign. With a public image of a youthful, moderate candidate who would appeal to young voters, he won the Conservative leadership election in 2005. Following the election of a hung parliament in the 2010 general election, Cameron became Prime Minister as the leader of a coalition between the Conservatives and Liberal Democrats. He was re-elected as Prime Minister in the 2015 general election, with the Conservatives winning a surprise parliamentary majority for the first time since 1992. Despite consistent predictions of a second hung parliament, he is the first Prime Minister to be re-elected immediately after serving a full term with an increased popular vote share since Lord Salisbury in 1900 and the only Prime Minister other than Margaret Thatcher to be re-elected immediately after a full term with a greater share of the seats. Cameron's premiership has been marked by the ongoing effects of the late 2000s financial crisis, leading to a large deficit in government finances, which his government has emphasized the need to reduce through austerity measures. His administration introduced large-scale changes to welfare, immigration policy, education and healthcare. By introducing the Welfare Reform Act of 2012, the Education Act of 2011, the Health and Social Care Act of 2012 and a range of immigration reforms from 2010 onwards, culminating in the Immigration Act of 2014. In 2011, Cameron became the first British Prime Minister to veto an EU treaty. His government introduced a nationwide referendum on voting reform in 2011 and a Falkland Islands sovereignty referendum in 2013, agreed to a Scottish independence referendum in September 2014, legalised same-sex marriages in England and Wales, and met the United Nations target of spending at least 0.7% of GNI on aid to developing countries. In 2013, Cameron promised an in-out referendum on the UK's membership of the European Union before the end of 2017, after a period of renegotiation. If the Conservatives were to gain a majority in the 2015 general election, the referendum was legislated following their victory. Family. David Cameron is the younger son of stockbroker Ian Donald Cameron and his wife Mary Fleur. Cameron's parents were married on 20 October 1962. Cameron was born in Marylebone, London and brought up at Peasmore, Berkshire. Cameron has a brother, Alexander Cameron, and two sisters, Tanya Rachel and Claire Louise. His father, Ian, was born at Blairmore House near Huntly, Aberdeenshire, and died near Toulon, France on 8 September 2010. Ian was born with both legs deformed and underwent repeated operations to correct them. Blairmore was built by Cameron's great-great-grandfather, Alexander Geddes, who had made a fortune in the grain trade in Chicago and returned to Scotland in the 1880s. Cameron has said, "On my mother's side of the family, her mother was a Llewellyn, so Welsh. I'm a real mixture of Scottish, Welsh and English." He has also referenced the German-Jewish ancestry of his maternal great-grandfather. Education. From the age of 7, Cameron was educated at 2 independent schools. at Heatherdown School in Wingfield in Berkshire, which counts Prince Andrew and Prince Edward among its alumni. Due to good academic grades, Cameron entered its top academic class almost 2 years early. At the age of 13, he went to Eton College in Berkshire, following his father and elder brother. His early interest was in art. 6 weeks before taking his O-levels, he was caught smoking cannabis. He admitted the offense and had not been involved in selling drugs, so he was not expelled, but was fined, prevented from leaving school grounds, and given a Georgic. Cameron passed 12 O-levels and then studied 3 A-levels. History of Art, History, in which he was taught by Michael Kidson, and Economics with Politics. He obtained 3 A grades and a 1 grade in the scholarship-level exam in Economics and Politics. The following autumn he passed the entrance exam for the University of Oxford, where he was offered an exhibition. After leaving Eton in 1984, Cameron started a 9-month gap year. He worked as a researcher for his godfather Tim Rathbone, then Conservative MP for Lewes. In his 3 months, he attended debates in the House of Commons. Through his father, he was then employed for a further 3 months in Hong Kong by Jardine Matheson as a ship jumper, an administrative post. Returning from Hong Kong, Cameron visited the then Soviet Union, where he was approached by 2 Russian men speaking fluent English. Cameron was later told by one of his professors that it was definitely an attempt by the KGB to recruit him. Cameron began his Bachelor of Arts studies in philosophy, politics and economics at Brasenose College, Oxford. His tutor, Professor Vernon Bogdana, described him as one of the ablest students he has taught, with moderate and sensible conservative political views. Guy Spear, who shared tutorials with him, remembers him as an outstanding student. We were doing our best to grasp basic economic concepts. David, there was nobody else who came even close. He would be integrating them with the way the British political system is put together. He could have lectured me on it, and I would have sat there and taken notes. When commenting in 2006 on his former pupil's ideas about a Bill of Rights to replace the Human Rights Act, however, Professor Bogdana, himself a Liberal Democrat, said, "I think he is very confused. I've read his speech and it's filled with contradictions. There are 1 or 2 good things in it, but one glimpses them, as it were, through a mist of misunderstanding." While at Oxford, Cameron was a member of the Student Dining Society, the Bullingdon Club, which has a reputation for an outlandish drinking culture associated with boisterous behaviour and damaging property. Cameron's period in the Bullingdon Club was examined in a Channel 4 documentary drama, When Boris Met Dave. Cameron graduated in 1988 with a first-class honours degree.